Hey, everybody. So, have you ever been in a conversation where someone says you're being defensive and you think, no, I'm not. I'm just answering your question. Notice my voice inflection with that, right? So, it can feel unfair when you're just trying to stay calm, you're giving an honest response, maybe even explaining your side, but somehow the harder you try to make things clear, the more disconnected the conversation feels. But the truth is if we're talking about defensiveness, often it has just a little to do with what's actually being said. And it's more about what's happening underneath the surface. And we have to look at our body. And that's our body way of saying, I'm feeling threatened right now, and I don't feel safe right now. So in this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to talk about why defensiveness shows up, even when your intentions are really good, and how to shift from defending yourself to creating connection. Because when you can do that, everything changes. When we make that shift and that change, trust, safety, and even your own senses, you start to sense your own integrity through that.
Welcome to Beyond the Facade podcast. I'm your host, Luke Gordon, and I'm thrilled to have you join me in this space today. What we're going to be doing is diving deep into the trials and triumphs and truths of seeking authenticity. Becoming your true self isn't about a single action or moment. It's a relentless pursuit, a commitment to self that reveals the rich connection and meaning that our life has to offer. So whether this is your first time tuning in or you're a regular listener, know this: what you're building here goes beyond a conversation. You're here to challenge, to change, and to celebrate the incredible journey of becoming your authentic self. Because when you dare to show up fully, the rewards are immeasurable. So welcome to Beyond the Facade. Let's get started.
So let's get into it. First thing we want to do is we want to understand defensiveness. So defensiveness isn't about right or wrong. It's about safety. So when I'm defensive, it feels like it's just like, I think for me, it's just like, I would love to win one of these battles. Just give me one. Like, it feels like she's always right. And it's not about who's right or wrong. It's my body senses there's no safety. Like, bad things are happening right now. So our nervous system is going to perceive like that emotional intensity, that tone or that misunderstanding as threat. I might perceive my partner as like yelling. And I'm talking about the person that did the betraying. I might feel like my partner who I betrayed is actually angry at me, that emotional intensity, they're mad, they're yelling, but really my body's sensing a threat. So what happens, our instinct is to eliminate the threat, is to explain. So it's our mind's attempt to restore like this balance, okay? But often it's going to disconnect us instead. It's going to not even allow our partner to experience any level of connection. Defensiveness, we just want to maybe provide to you today the fact that this isn't moral failure, but it's really more of an automatic protection strategy. So let me give you a quote. It might be worthy of an idea. Okay, so let me read this. Defensiveness is your body saying, I don't want to be the bad one, even when no one's calling you bad. Part of me is going like, do you acknowledge that? Do you value that? You're like, no, I think they just want me to say you're bad or whatever it is. But it's our body saying, I don't want to be the bad guy, but nobody's actually saying that. I recognize that might be hard to swallow depending on how you perceive yourself or how you think your partner perceives you. And that might be off of actual words said. So just hang with me. All right. So let's talk about the just answering trap. Okay. So if I just answer the question, this can be a trap. Let's talk about my favorite things ever in recovery. One of my favorite things ever is talk about intent versus impact. And the analogy that's my favorite to go with that is, what do we do when we hurt somebody? Let's say I'm laying in bed next to my partner, we're asleep, and in my sleep, I roll over and I clobber her with my arm and hit her right inside the head. And she wakes up and she's like, ouch, you just smacked me inside the head, upside the head. And you're like, in all this coming up in the middle of nowhere from sleep. And what do you do automatically? You say, well, I didn't mean to, I was asleep. That is us focused on the intent. I didn't mean to hurt you, instead of you are hurt. So sometimes questions carry emotional weight. We would just want to recognize that our questions are really important instead of running to intent of why we didn't mean to hurt somebody or what we're actually talking about. But let's just recognize that they're invitations for connection. So when we get curious and we start to ask questions, and we get into a curious type mindset, it's going to change everything. Rather than just responding to find out about the hurt really matters. Okay, let me give you an example of this. Let me give you like that two different sides of the coin in the same scenario. Okay, so imagine your partner says to you, why didn't you tell me that sooner? And just picture your body, how it's responding to that. One response might be, I didn't think it was important. And how would that feel to your partner? Probably pretty dismissive because they see it as very important. So what could that shift look like if I leaned more into asking questions? Okay, I want to understand how important that is. And I didn't realize it mattered so much. So I want to see how important it is. Let me ask you some questions on that. So if we get connection before clarity, it always lands better. Okay. So I don't get clarity until I get curious. So the goal isn't to like censor the truth, but it's to ground in empathy first. We can't be empathetic unless we actually seek to understand what the other person is experiencing. Well, here's the struggle. If we've been married for years, decades, whatever it is, the natural human experience is to take all this information, all these experiences that think we know what our partner is experiencing, what matters to them. Okay, so let's talk about recognizing the signals. Here's the first thing, internal signs. So before I can lean in any level of curiosity, I have to notice how my body's responding. Does my chest tighten? Do I get shallow breathing? Am I feeling the urge to justify? And then let's look for verbal signs, okay? Let's watch the language that we're using and then just document this. Keep this on a paper. Know what these signs are. Know what my internal signs are and my verbal signs. So when verbal signs might be like, that's not what I meant. You're misunderstanding me. I was just trying to fill in the blank. But then I can recognize that there's some signals of relational signs. Maybe one person starts explaining while the other withdraws. Maybe there's interruptions. Maybe it escalates. So just notice also other signs of relational signs that it's not. Other signals. Just defensiveness often enters seconds before we realize it. So a survival is going to happen automatically. What we want to do is want to create some awareness of those signals, those signs, and so we can catch them earlier rather than later. And just practice noticing them for some somatic cues instead of the last word spoken. Just there's signals, there's signs, but it's not going to come naturally. It takes some practice. So recognize what those are. There's going to be a shift here. Okay. So I want to give you a tool that you can use and recognize these tools come in all shapes and sizes. You might already be using something similar to this. Maybe you can take it up a level. Maybe there's something missing you didn't already notice. Maybe it hits differently. Maybe it comes in layers. But here's a 4-step shift from defensiveness to connection. First thing is pause. Pause. Breathe before speaking. And if you're the betrayed partner, notice your partner doing this, and it's important for you to notice. I'm going to breathe before I'm going to say something. I'm going to regulate first. All right. So you can't connect while your body thinks it's under attack. You can't. Remember, insight's going to follow that calm. So there are a lot of ways to pause, breathe. You can name that. Okay. So pause is the first one. Name it's the second one. So when you name it, you say, I notice I'm feeling defensive right now. Call it out to your partner. I feel myself starting to view you as the person that's trying to hurt me, that's naming me. Good. I'm not seeing you as an ally. I'm feeling defensive right now. And naming that, it's going to bring your prefrontal cortex online, and it's going to lower the tension that you have just by saying it. It won't feel great that you're naming it, but it's going to start to bring you back online. And because it's going to signal that self-awareness and safety to that other person. So if that person says, what I'm feeling right now is this, and you can weaponize it, and your partner will know the difference between you actually being vulnerable and saying what you're feeling. Okay, so first pause, second name it. I notice I'm feeling defensive right now. Third one is acknowledge the emotion. Acknowledge saying something like, I can see why that's felt hurtful to you. I can get that this is important to you. Empathy is going to open that door. And then what you can do after you acknowledge that emotion, then you can respond. And once that emotion's acknowledged, then that content is going to land way more gently. And then you can get into it. So just remember, this big takeaway from this is truth lands differently when empathy comes first. So an empathy is not going to happen until I pause, until I name it, until I acknowledge that emotion. Then I can respond. Okay. So just take that, add it to what you already have, let it evolve, talk to your partner about it. Okay. So just practice. I know in our group setting in phase 2 men's groups, we do a lot of practice. I'm constantly thankful for the men that will show up and lean into vulnerability with other men and practice and show parts of them that they're not used to letting other men see. We call it drills. We have to drill what matters to us. We have to practice it over and over again. So when we're in the heat of the situation, our bodies can respond in ways that we want them to inside of our values. So practice. And let me just give you some takeaways from today, and then we'll wrap this defensiveness content out, which is, remember, defensiveness is an alarm, not an accusation. Okay. So see it as an alarm. And the goal isn't to eliminate your defensiveness. So it's not to be that, but it's to listen to what it's protecting. Love parts work, love IFS work. If defensive was a part of us, what is it trying to protect? Usually it's trying to protect not just ourselves, but the relationship, because it's something we value. All right. And remember, every defensive moment is an opportunity to practice safety, humility, and repair. So healing isn't in the lack of ruptures. It's in the repair after a rupture. So pause. You just pause before you prove, practice those steps. And this is how emotional maturity develops. So every time you choose connection over protection, you strengthen trust in yourself and in your relationship. So anyway, just practice your defensiveness, noticing your defensive this week. Notice what level of shame pops up. Don't give up. Don't stop fighting. It was good to spend some time with you.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. If this is something that you connected with, I'd love to meet with you more and talk about it. So what you can do is go to chooserecoveryservices.com or check the show notes. And there what we can do is set up a quick conversation to meet. Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Facade, where we unmask the authentic self.